Crystal gazing is an old ancient art form and was used way back in the times of Lemuria. Looking into the crystals to help one do shadow work and even to help one make decisions on future projects or events is something I have been doing for a few years now. Crystal gazing is fun and easy to do. It's not just something only seers can do. I would like to teach you all I know about crystal gazing. I, Robin Nicole, am hosting a crystal gazing unity circle on May 8th at 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT in one of the New Earth Ascending Consciousness Unity Circle Zoom rooms. Find the link in the description of this video and come on in and join me. Bring along your favorite quartz crystal to gaze with. I so look forward to seeing you there.
Me, the crystal lover that I am, I just always love crystals, but I never got fully, I've never been formally educated on crystals. I never had any formal training other than I've taken a couple of crystal classes, just little workshops, daytime workshops. And I took a Lemurian crystal workshop one time as well. Now I got Rick as big. I don't know why that's coming up like that.
So Robin, what I want you to do is go up to your view and put yourself on speaker view.
I did. But now I'm still seeing me. Wait, I'm still seeing me. Does it matter?
Yeah, you should just see you.
No, I see you. I see me up at the top corner in a little tiny circle, but that's okay. As long as we can see me and everybody can see it. Okay. Not that I think I am most beautiful or anything. But okay, here we go. My brothers would say that I'm not going to go down that road. Okay. So I want to tell you a little bit about how I got a little bit more serious into crystals. And it all happened in 2018 when I had a QHHT session. It's a quantum healing hypnosis technique session. If anybody doesn't know what it is, you go into these sessions. They're about an hour to 2, maybe 3 hours long sometimes, but you're not in hypnosis the whole time. It's just during there's just they get your background. You go to a practitioner, and they when you go to these sessions, you can ask I went with a whole list of questions, but what I wanted to ask my higher self, if I got the chance to talk to my higher self. And I was lucky because I just so happened to be able to connect with my higher self during my session, and all of my questions were answered and more. And one of the things that I was told about was that I had spent time, I was a high priestess in Lemuria, and that I had encoded the crystals to be able to have the information, the Lemurian crystals where they have the information in them with the Akashic records, and that I had done that with other Lemurians, and that was my job that I did there. And that I was told during this session that I had encoded a crystal that was just for me, that it would be showing up at some point in time. I didn't know when this crystal would show up, but they said when it showed up that I'd be ready to use it, and that I would be able to open it up, and I would be able to learn more about all of this knowledge and remember everything that I knew back in the times of Lemuria. And I went on and I kept looking for this crystal, and I wasn't able to find it, I didn't really listen to the part on there that they told me, because when I went back and re-listened later, it said, when you're ready, it will appear. It will be given to you. And I just kind of I was trying to buy it. So I was looking on all these sites, trying to find Lemurian crystals, couldn't find this crystal, this seed crystal. Nobody seemed to have it. And they had these little ones. I had gotten a whole bunch of little ones, but I kept being shown it was a specific seed crystal. And so I kind of started forgetting about it. I started teaching my Lemurian crystal workshops, and then I started talking, or I met this person, and he's actually here today in this room. And a friend of mine said, you got to talk to this Rick Talley guy, because he has something to do with something Andaras or something, and I don't know anything about. She says she didn't know anything about him. I didn't know anything about him, but for some reason she felt like I needed to talk to this man. And so before I knew it, I was like accepting a friend request from Rick Talley, and then we were on the phone talking, and he told me all about Andaras. And I had been told in this session before, in this QHHT session, that I would be working on a project with other people in like a group of some sort, and we would be doing something with the crystals, and I didn't know what that was. And then Rick came on board and started with this, he telling me about these Andaras. He ended up, he had this mission that he was being put on, that he had, he could tell you it better than I can. He had like this dream, and I think it went on for like 3 nights or something. And he was basically told that he needed to pass 18 Andaras on to different people in different parts of the world, and they were meant to be doing something with it. And he had already given the crystals to these 18 people. But by the time he had talked to me, and then he said, hey, I would like to send you some. I said, I'm living in Ireland, and I can do something with this Andara. I can place the crystal somewhere up in Tara, where the second chamber of the heart chakra is. So I started working, and these are Andaras. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Andaras before I went farther. So this is Starlight, and this Rick gave me when I went to New York. This is a crystal that is Andara. And then they come in all different colors. So this one is a brown one. Rick can show you, he's got like green, he's got all different colors. They come in clear, and they're highly vibrational. They exist in more, like I think he said 7 dimensions at once or more maybe. And they have maybe Rick, can you like come on here for a second and talk about this I don't remember what is inside them. Can you explain about the Andaras really quickly?
Yeah, there's an element in them called Ethereum, which is one of the Ormus elements, orbitally rearranged monatomic element, and it's multidimensional. So these aren't really true crystals. They're sort of like obsidian, but where they were formed, they have a high concentration of this element in them. Let me close the door.
You got feedback from Christine.
Yeah. So they are multidimensional elements or crystals, and wherever they are around the world, they connect to each other and establish their own grid. Stuff I've received since then, information, they show up at times of a consciousness shift to help the planet shift. After it shifts, they will sort of fall back into obscurity until the next time they're needed again, and they'll come up again. So the fact that there's so many showing up right now tells us a lot about what we're going through and about to go through. Mm-hmm.
And so Rick basically sent me them, and then I went on this week. I ended up doing the Andara project, I call it, with Rick, and we went to different places. We placed them. Sometimes we placed them etherically, and sometimes we physically placed them. And I placed one in Tara, and this is going to get around to the Lemurian thing, guys. And so this was about a year after, I was told that I had this Lemurian crystal waiting for me. And so I happened to be doing this with Rick in New York. So I went to New York, and I was told that there was a friend of mine that I grew up with who was going to be doing this with us. And I was supposed to be doing some Lemurian work with her. And so I took all of my Lemurian crystals with me on the plane, and I thought, oh, I'm going to be working with her with the Lemurian crystals, and didn't think anything more of it until we went to actually go do the grid work that we were doing in New York. And we were getting ready to walk up to the place, and my friend, as you know, we were all crystal lovers, and so we all had our crystals with us, and we were showing them off to each other, and oh, look what I got, blah blah blah. And so my friend, she was showing off this beautiful crystal, and it was a Lemurian seed crystal. It was absolutely amazing. And I looked at her and I'm like, oh my God, this is really cool. Where did you get it? And she's like, my aunt, she owns a crystal shop, but it wasn't open. And I was like, oh no, I'm going to be going back to Ireland, and I'm not going to be able to get one of these, and all this kind of thing happened. And then she turns around and she goes like this, and she hands this to me, and she says, I've been told this is for you. And this is the crystal that I encoded back in the times of Lemuria. And I've been working with it ever since. And this is what has been helping me figure out how to open the crystal. I've been doing all kinds of things to find out how to open the crystal. And so that's just a quick little snippet. I kind of went off what I was going to tell you today. So that's how I got into working with Lemurian crystals. And I went to a workshop before, right after my session. And I did a lot of studying about Lemuria, because I didn't know anything about Lemuria, Lemurian crystals, anything. And so I was just kind of trying to figure it all out. And I went to a workshop, and it was held by a person that is highly influential, and she teaches people how to work with the crystals. And I went to the thing, and then after I left the workshop, I started doing what I've done all my life. I did this when I went to church when I was growing up. I used to question everything I was being told. And I started questioning a couple things. I had a few doubts about this. One, they were saying that you could only teach Lemurian crystal healing through this person's modality, and you had to spend it was thousands of dollars to be able to take the course. And I had been wondering, do I need to do this? And so I did have a session afterwards, and I asked my higher self, is this something I'm meant to be doing? Do I need to go spend thousands of dollars to become a person that can teach and work and use the crystals in this way? And I was told, you already have it in your DNA. You came with this, you were born with this, and that you don't need to go and take a course or anything, because it's already in your DNA from the times when you spent back in Lemuria. And so that answered my question there, that I didn't need to go and do this big huge course. And I was told to trust what was coming through, that I knew what I was talking about, and that I knew what I was getting was right. And then another thing that I questioned was in this course, they said that you could only use Lemurian crystals that were coming out of the mine in Brazil, and that none of the other crystals would work. And I questioned that. I was like, why? Because I was using other crystals, and they seemed to be doing what it seemed to work. whether or not I was using a Lemurian crystal or not. So I did ask that question to my higher self when I was in a session, and my higher self said, "What do you think, Robin?" My higher self said, "Robin, that's a commercial thing that people do in your human world, and you all think you have to like own the rights of things and everything, and that all crystals will work. All crystals are on this earth. They're all encoded with high vibrations, and that really you could just use a crystal that you found on the beach if it calls you, if it's called for you." And so I learned that, although I do think that working with crystal gazing, with what we're going to be learning today, it is best to use some sort of a quartz, whether it be whatever color, it could be different color quartz or whatever, but it's best to use a quartz crystal, because I tried doing it with my jasper crystal, and I think it's too hard to kind of like see through the crystal and actually see things that are going on inside of it. And like I tried it with my Shiva stone, and it just doesn't really work, the crystal gazing thing. So and then there was a question about the crystal balls, and I had been questioning, like, okay, so this is where Bonnie has to come in. We have to explain about the crystal balls and how they're melted down, and how they make the crystal balls. So can you explain that?
Okay. I think someone's wanting to come in.
I think
So
well, okay, we can close the room after that. Okay.
so the crystal ball, when it's quartz, they grind it down, and then they grind it down, and then they actually melt it, and then they form the crystal. But also you can have the glass. They're both from the earth, so they both carry energy and they both work. But that's what they do with this kind of crystal ball. And I don't know if they've ever actually just cut out a ball from crystal. I don't know. I've never seen one if they do. But
yeah, and I also was learning, but I don't know if this is true, that if it's made from glass, if you put it on a piece of paper, it will magnify the words, and if it's made out of crystal, then it doesn't. But then I don't know, because some people, like Bonnie is saying that hers came with a certificate saying that it was made fully from crystal, and when she put it on the words, it did magnify a little bit. So I don't know. And so you all are going to have to use your own discernment with that, but you can use the crystal balls to do this as well. And let me see, I guess I'm gonna check where I'm at. Okay, and then I just want to go over the fact that we can do this crystal gazing by ourselves, although it is not necessary. And this is one of the things that I was questioning as well in the workshop that I had taken. They were saying that basically you're not allowed to do it by yourself. You can only do it with other people. And I questioned that. And yes, you can do it by yourself. It can be more effective if you do it in a group setting. And the reasoning being is because in a group setting, so okay, say you're having an issue in your life and you want to figure out, okay, you need to change your job, or something needs to happen, like you can't stand where you're working or whatever, and you need to change a job, and you really want to figure out. So you can use these like an oracle card deck. You can use them. They're very much like a tool like that. And when you're working with a group of people, they can look into the crystal for you, and they might see something that you wouldn't see because you have a filter, because you want a certain outcome. to happen. You know, like you really want the crystal to say you're gonna go find a brand new job and you're gonna be all happy and everything like that. And where the other person can give you more of a different kind of they can give you more feedback that might be a little bit different and a little bit more helpful because they don't have the filter. So that's when you do this in a group, that's where it can really help. And the next thing I want to say is that crystal gazing is something that has been being used for years. It has been being used from like way back in the times of Lemuria and way back in different times, and it became something in our time that is like a fortune telling thing. Like the gypsies, they got their crystal ball sitting in the middle of the thing. And crystal gazing can be done by anyone. We can all do it. You don't have to have a special like power in order to crystal gaze. And it's not really used, it's not for fortune telling, it's not to tell your future or anything like this. It's used to help you work through issues, like issues that are happening to your life, maybe also shadow work. It can help you work through issues and shadow work because the crystals can be showing you something that you need to face. Like there might be something that you're seeing in the crystal that can show you what you need to face as far as like a wound or something like that. So this is why we crystal gaze. It's not just tell the fortune of like somebody or anything like that. That's what we're using them for. We're using them as a positive tool to help us work through things that are happening in our life. And also you can do them into all different kinds of methods. You can use the crystals just with the light that you have in the room, and you can spin the crystal around and you can gaze at them like that. Or you can do something. I used to take them into the swimming pool with me, and I used to crystal gaze underwater. I used to hold my breath, and you know how like in the swimming pool they have like little lights inside the swimming pool, and I used to like go underwater and look through the crystal and see like if I saw anything, because you can see different things inside the water than you do outside of the water. And so I would do this when I would go swimming, maybe when I was sitting in the whirlpool or something, just so that I could maybe get some insight as to maybe what my guides or whatever wanted me to look at. And also, I have changed the way that I have been crystal gazing since last year. I started finding out that you can also use the element of fire and the element of water when you're gazing. And I started spending a lot of time down at the river, and I started putting my crystals into the water, and then I was taking photographs of them. And then I was coming back home and I was looking at the photographs, and I was realizing that the crystal is a mirror, but also the water is a mirror, and fire can be a mirror. So when you're taking a photograph of the water flowing over the crystal, the water, all of a sudden you take a still shot, there's all the stuff that mirrors around in the water as well. And so you can use the water to help you as well as just as the crystal. And sometimes when I crystal gaze and I use this in my sessions, sometimes I don't even look at what's inside the crystal. There's all this stuff happening in the water around the crystal. So that's what I wanted to cover with that. And I think I got one more thing that I just wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about something that I have been that is interesting to me, is that as I've been learning about the different aspects that I have in different places, in different times, different worlds and stuff, I've noticed that my aspects the ones that I've been being shown anyways, they seem to all be working with crystals in some way, shape, or form. Like I was shown an aspect in the time of Avalon, and I was shown that I was working with the crystals in the water, in the river, just like what I do now. I was shown an Arcturian aspect that was on a light ship, and he was working on a ship. What I was being explained was about ecosystems, and he had all these like weird looking crystals that you wouldn't see on our planet. And he was basically saying that he works with the crystals as far as like they're forming. I think he works with the minerals or something from what I got, and his exact job was just to work with the crystals. But the whole mission that his like community was on was to go around to different planets, and they were helping to do something with ecosystems. And then I had another aspect that showed up in the times of Atlantis, when I was doing a session last year with Bonnie. Actually, she took me in, and I found out that I had an aspect that in the times of Atlantis that worked with the crystals in a not so nice way. They were putting, like, we were putting essences into the crystals of people, and there was not a nice thing that was going on. And I learned I had to do a lot of shadow work around that. I learned I had to cut a karmic contract and everything during that time. But I also was given my Lemurian crystal during that session. That it was like Jesus handed me the crystal and said, now you know what you did with the crystals in a not so nice way. Now go do something positive with them. And of course, I had the Lemurian aspect that encoded the crystals with that I told you already earlier. And so this is why I am doing this today, why I'm teaching about crystal gazing, because I want to do something positive with the crystals in this lifetime. And so that's why I'm bringing this forward. And it's really exciting to me to be able to show you guys all of this and how I have used the crystals. Now, before we get ready, I'm going to show you how I use the crystals. I'm going to put some images up, and I'm going to explain how it works. But before I do that, I would like to open up and ask if anybody has any questions about what I've just talked about. You can go ahead and put your mute off and ask me the question.
Hi, can you just briefly go over again, like fake crystal ball versus nearer, realer crystal
Yeah, like
ball?
I don't know really if it's fake or not, because I do know that there's a lot of crystals out there that they're just glass, that they're not actual crystal. And they, a lot of times you'll get them, especially on, like, if you look for them, they're kind of like coming up in like sites where they're very inexpensive, and you kind of like know that they're probably more or less made of glass. Instead, I don't know, they have bubbles in them and stuff, and they're different than the ones that like Bonnie has in her hand. They kind of come from a more authentic place. So maybe if you're trying to find them, try to find ones that come with like a certificate or something of authenticity, that they're actually really crystal, I guess. It doesn't really matter, because I think they still work, you know? Just like Andaras, they're not made out, they're kind of like glass and monotonic. I can't even say the word. Rick knows the word. He said it earlier. Monatomics, solid things. They're like these, and that's like that's the part that makes the crystal, or makes the Andara special. The part that makes it go into all these different dimensions and times and worlds and stuff. So I hope I answered your question, Rita.
Well, I have I have this rose quartz.
Oh yeah.
And it has a lot of what do you call it?
Yeah.
Inclusions.
Yeah.
in this one? So can you gaze in this one?
Yes.
Or is it
And I
more-
found that the ones that have more inclusions are actually the ones that you can get more stuff out of. The ones that are like more clear, I found I don't get as much off from them as the ones that have inclusions in them. And I think that's why they say to use the Lemurian crystals, because Lemurian crystals have a lot of inclusions in them. See, like there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
They're not see-through. There's different things happening in them. There's another one. See, this one's a little bit more clear than the other one was. And then also, even if they have like little, like this has like a little dirt thing or something on there, it won't come off, and they're perfect. And so just find yourself a crystal, a quartz out there that you like, and you can work with it, and it'll change as you're working with it. It'll change what you see depending upon what you're going through in your life.
It's speaking to you.
Yeah, and I can use the same crystals and for different people, and they always come up with something different depending upon the water, the angle, whatever it is that I'm looking at. They always seem to change. So anybody else have any more questions before we go forward? No? Okay, so I'm going to do the screen share, and I'm going to make it so that I'm not so big. How do I make it so I'm not so big anymore?
Go up in the view. You don't want the screen share to be big?
I do want the screen share to be big.
So just leave it that way and do the screen share.
Okay. Okay, can everybody see this crystal on the screen? Yeah? Bonnie, are you seeing? Everybody?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
Yep, I see it.
And now I have another issue because my arrow to move the pictures back and forth, there's a whole bunch of everybody like on top of the arrow. I don't know how I'm supposed
Here, I'll just move mine out of here.
How do I do that?
Do you see yours now?
No, I still got 4 people. Let me see if I can move that. Okay, I'm gonna move this over to the other side. There we go. Okay, so now I've got my arrow. Okay, so I want to tell you, this is how I work with the crystals. This is how I work with them in my sessions and how I use them for myself. And so before I start showing you this line of crystals, I just want to tell you what I was working through in my life, okay? The day these photos were taken, I was just after crashing from lack of exercise and not eating proper foods to keep my energy levels balanced. I had gone 3 weeks without going for a walk and was very irritable and not really able to even put a sentence together that had any kind of meaning. I couldn't even make simple decisions and just was at a tipping point to go into spiral into a deep depression. I was crying off this is the way I was. I was very anxious and felt unwanted by all around me, including my family and my close friends. And after looking at all of these photos I took during one crystal gazing session, you can see how all of the images showed me how to get back on track. And this is how crystal gazing works, okay? So we're gonna go to the first crystal, and I have circled with a red thing, so the area that I'm looking at, and I'll try to put the arrow around to kind of describe. So we're going to be focusing on this area right here where the red is. And at first glance, I noticed there is a person walking through a very cloudy time. So here's a little person. You can see him walking, and it's kind of cloudy down here, and there's the head, okay? And the legs up to the chest are in the cloudy area, and there is a wall in front of the person. So here's this wall, this big long wall, right? And which is not allowing forward movement. looking up behind the head, there seems to be a rough icy patch, and that's where I was looking, kind of like up in here. This was all kind of like rough and icy looking. The top of the head is very clear, like up around here is very clear. And if the person could just get over the wall, the path forward looks clearer, although there are little bumps along the way. So this is like, if you get past the wall, there are a few little bumps, but it is a little bit clearer looking. What this says to me is that I am in a fuzzy or cloudy position in my life and feeling like there is a wall in front of me. Although I am off balance right now, the future looks clear for me, with not too much resistance once I get past the wall, or once I get back on track with my body alchemy. It is impossible for me at this time to move forward, as I am not holding the light vibration at the moment. Okay, so now we're going to quickly go to the next one. So the next one is the same crystal, and you all know what's happening down here with the person. And then up here, there is a being or a guide up in the clear part of the area near the top of the wall in this circle. So the wall is right here, and there's a guide. The being seems to be beaming light infusion into my third eye of the person, so that's me. And it seems to be beaming either in the crown or the third eye. There's a beam of light going over here. And what I think this means is that my guides are helping me through this time by infusing light into me to help me focus and redirect my energy to more of a balanced and alchemized state of being, so that I can once again hold the heralds of light vibration and go on with my mission as a way shower of freedom. So that's that one. So then we're going to recap what all these do. Okay, so now we're going into the next photo, and I want you to kind of look over to this area. So in the water, on the right-hand side of the crystal, there is a silhouette of a person holding the person in the crystal. So it's like there's a silhouette of something. It looks to me like there's arms. There's arms right here. It's very hard to see. It's not like something that, there's like a person here. There's the head. There's a nose. It's like the side of you. There's an eye here. And you go down here, and it's holding, and there's a person, that's the person that's here in the crystal. It's kind of holding the person. Okay? This reminds me that even when I'm feeling alone and unwanted, that I'm always being held. Okay. Now where's my arrow button? Oh, there you are. Okay. The next crystal. Now, we're not looking at the crystal now. We're looking up into the water, and we're noticing that up in this circle, there in the water, there is a face of what looks like a wolf or a fox. When looking in the meaning of the wolf, there is an indication that the person in the crystal may be feeling threatened or has a lack of trust in someone or themselves. The fox meaning speaks about trickster energy or seeing through deception. This really spoke to me as I was feeling deceived and tricked by someone. I had a quantum session recently, and she had given me a private session, and I told her that she could put it up on the YouTube channel after I edited out the private information, and that she needed to give me a couple of weeks so that before we'd be ready to put this up, because I wanted to integrate and process the session before the whole world would be listening to it. Okay? And I was so very surprised 2 days later to find the whole session unedited on her YouTube channel for the whole world to see. It actually took me by such surprise that I had a brief panic attack. I felt like she deceived and tricked me by posting it without editing or waiting until I was ready. I questioned whether I can trust this person going forward. And it even came up in the crystal. I found that to be quite amazing that showed up at the time. And then we have the next crystal. Why is that not showing? Oh, I know why, because I didn't do the Photoshop part. Okay, so we're gonna go through all the crystals to get to the right one. So at the top of this crystal, I see a woman sitting in the water, cleansing herself. And behind her in the water, there are little sprite berries playing around her. So let me see if I can, what did I do now? Did I move that back? Now I gotta move this over here. Here we go. Okay. So let me see if I can figure out what I saw there. There was a woman, I can't even see it now, but there, I think it's in the top of the crystal.
Right here, Robin.
Where are you seeing it? Is it right
I
around
see
where
it.
my arrow is?
Yep, I see it right here.
This
Right here.
woman right here.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I felt like there was little sprites kind of flying around. You could see the little sprites flying around her. And what I learned from this is there is a need for me to do some ritual type of cleanse, and that my fairy friends are always there waiting to play with me, to remind me to have fun and to not take life so seriously. So what is she doing? She's sitting in the water and cleaning herself. Is that what she's doing? Yeah. She's sitting in the water and she's cleaning. There's like, she's doing something. Here's her hand. Now I see it very clearly. She's doing something in there. So that's what I got from that part. And then there's another area down here. And I see a woman holding herself with a tiny light being adjusts. While a tiny light being adjusts her head. So this is the person holding themselves. There's a little being right here. The arms are coming out. You can see like there's like a little tiny head, and this is her head, and they're doing something to adjust her head. This tells me I need to do my own self-care, and that when I help myself, there are always light beings or guides to come in to assist me, and that I'm not alone. And I think there was adjusting my head, maybe my thought forms. There was a little bit of adjustment around my thought forms at the time. Now we'll go to the next one. Okay, this one. And this is something that I do as well. This crystal was actually the other way around, and then I turned it around to see if I could see something. I rotated the image, see if anything was happening in a different way, right? And what I see is a person trying to swim. So there's a person, this is the head, and this is the hands, and this is like swimming in the water, so it's kind of like diving down. The person is swimming through choppy water and literally can't swim any further as she's being stopped by a thick icy wall, which is right here. It's all ice and she can't go any farther in the pool. This shows me that I shouldn't force myself to go further, and when I hit a wall of ice, I should wait for it to melt before proceeding, to listen to my body and what it is telling me. Rest if I feel the need, and just be patient with myself. Okay, the next one. In this crystal, I see very clearly a woman inside a healing chamber. This reminds me to take some time in my healing chamber to rejuvenate and recalibrate my body and light being. So there's literally a woman in here. This is her head. It's the back of her. You can see the silhouette. This is like her waist coming down and around in here. And this whole top is like, I have a healing chamber that is like a pyramid, and it seems very much like she's inside a healing chamber. And basically it was just telling me that I needed to go to my healing chamber. I needed to take some time out. The next one, I clearly see a person with their solar plexus totally lit up, holding a butterfly that has landed on her hand. This is down in here somewhere. Now what am I seeing? Because it's like, this is a long time ago when I looked at this. Okay, there's the butterfly. solar plexus. Okay, so this is her body down here. So this part is all lit up, her solar plexus area. And up here is her head, and it's very hard to see. This is a very hard one to see. And she's got the butterfly there, right? Well, this reminds me of my painting. And I'm going to turn my thing over here onto the wall. I don't know if everybody can see that, but there's a painting of a lady, and she's basically putting, she's opening up the glass and she's letting the butterfly free, right? It's called, the painting is called Josephine Wall, Flight to Freedom. And what this says to me is that it's up to me to free myself. No one else can do it for me. I need to stand up and brush myself off and just get on with it. And that reminded me of that, because that's what that painting reminds me of. It's my favorite painting in all, like, that exists out there in the world. And in the water, right behind the crystal, is what looks like an albatross bird. This is here. Here's his beak, and this is kind of his head. And it's very distinctly an albatross bird. And when looking up the meaning of albatross, I found that these birds represent grace and peace of mind, with emotions and attachments of the mind. I was actually dealing with some emotions around the fact that a dear friend of mine, who's in the room right now, she was on vacation, and at the time that I was going through this, right? Dear friend of mine was unable to be there for me during this stressful time, and I realized that I was codependent on her for my peace of mind. The albatross came in to remind me that I can find peace within myself, and there is no need to attach to another for this type of support, because it only leaves me codependent on others. So it's reminding me that I need to make sure that I'm not attaching myself onto people to make sure that I can feel like I'm okay. Okay, so because I have a habit of doing that, and so it reminded me. Oops, I went back. Now I've got to move this back over here. Where are you? Am I covering up the picture now with us?
No, you could still see the last picture.
Okay, so up in the corner where the circle is, in the water, there is an image of a gorilla right down in here. Okay, in the water. And when looking up the meaning of a gorilla, that gorillas laugh, cry, love, and grieve. Unlike humans, gorillas do not hide what they feel from the other members of the troop. Part of the gorilla's wisdom involves knowing how to tap into deep feelings and avoid suppressing emotions as they arise. I feel like the gorilla came to remind me not to suppress my feelings and emotions around the codependency that I had around my friend. So I was able to talk about it, and I'm able to tell her, listen, I think I'm a codependent on you, you know, and it's not healthy, and to be able to talk about it. And then this one, there is a woman dancing in the crystal. So right around here where the circle is, you can see there's a woman dancing. I feel like it's reminding me to stretch, move, and dance, possibly even learn Tai Chi to help me move the body up and to move the build-up and the blocked energy that's in my body. And then the next one is a different picture, and this one is very much like the one in the last one, except this person is stretching. So there's a person in here and they're doing like a yoga kind of stretching kind of thing. I feel like it's reminding me of the message that I need to incorporate yoga, Pilates more in my self-care routine, because I used to do it for a very long time and I haven't done it for a few years now, and I really need to get myself back in, incorporate that in there, because when I did do the stretching and I did do the yoga and the Pilates type thing, my body was able to move better and feel better, and I was able to, it was just so much, it wasn't sore all the time. And then in this is another image down here. It's a person swaying and dancing. Like you can see, her arms are up, kind of going this way, and she's here and she's swaying. And in this one, it's another reminder to do some dance or some sort of like Tai Chi or some kind of something to do the energy. I used to dance. I was a ballet dancer all my life up until I was like 20 years old. And I used to love the movement and the dance. And it's just reminding me that I need to go back to that, even if I can't dance the way that I used to. And then I think this is the last picture, the last one. Let's get to the last one. Okay. This one's hard to see, but there's a ram. I'm seeing the face of a ram, and kind of like it's coming around and the body is holding the top of the crystal. So there's like a ram there. And so one thing I've learned about when I'm working with these things is when you see an animal or something, you need to go look up the spiritual meaning of it to kind of help you figure out what the ram is saying. So the ram is associated with creative and decisive force. The spiral of the horn is a symbol of great creativity, a relationship given more emphasis because it is associated with the head in the case of the ram. So the ram signifies new stimulation in mental faculties, imagination, and inspiration, along with the energy to act upon it. The ram represents the power to penetrate, overcome, and achieve. It reflects the assertion of strength in creative ways to achieve a breakthrough. It is also associated with sacrifice. I feel like the ram is reminding me to spend my time creating and writing all of the information that is coming through for me at this time, to just go for it without worrying about the outcome, whether there's going to be a book and whether it's going to be published or any of that stuff, and to just do it. So after looking at all of these photos I took during one crystal gazing session, you can see how all of the images showed me how to get back on track. And this is how crystal gazing works. I'm back. So I think I want to take it out of me now, and can we go back to the view where I can see everybody? There we go. Back to gallery view. So does anybody want to talk about what I just talked about, or have any questions, or curious or anything like that before? I think what I'd like to do is I want to put up a few images of some just crystals that I have in here that I've taken photos of, and give you guys a chance to see what you see inside the crystals. So what do you think? Anybody want to take their microphones off and talk to me?
I would like to ask, so when you did this was a while ago, and you were sharing that process that you decided to do and help yourself with. Like, so when you were showing, I could see a lot of what you were pointing out, and after all, it's your story. But sometimes you were showing me and I was seeing other things. So is it possible that other things happened now? Or that I just see something.
It could be. And this is where it comes to when I remember when I was telling you about that when you're working with a group, the people that are looking at the crystal for you to help you work through an issue, they don't have a filter about what's going on. And so they can see things that you don't see. And that's why it's helpful to do it in a group setting.
Is it possible that since you first viewed the crystal and you saw what you saw for your heart and your growth, that it changed itself anyways?
Yeah,
it
could be possible. And what I do when I do sessions for people, I'll go out to the river, and I do them with the fire behind it, with the fireplace as well. But I'll go out to the river and I'll place the crystals into the river, and I'll take a few photos with the intention that whatever comes through will help the person. And what I found that's really amazing is that I'll take the pictures, then I come back home and I actually pull cards before I do a session for someone, and I'll pull cards around what does this person need, what does this person, what's going on. And what's really kind of strange is that sometimes, more than most of the time, the crystals are showing up things that the oracle cards are showing me and that the guides are showing me that this person needs to work on or hear, which I find is kind of like interesting how that works. So I don't know. Anybody else have any questions? Anybody curious about anything?
Yeah, I have a question. Does it have to be natural flowing water like that, or can you put it in
The bathtub?
tap water, or yeah?
I was thinking, well, it can be put into the bathtub, but the bathtub isn't really moving water, and so when you take a photograph of it, it's not it's not going to show all that stuff that you see in the water, like what you see down in the river kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when I used them in the pool and I went under the water, it did kind of like there was different things that I could see in the crystals from when I was up above, out of the water. So I think it doesn't really matter.
So maybe moving water is best then?
Yeah, I like the river. The river seems to have the water flowing on it. Moving water is best, but you can do the bathtub. I remember I had a real big issue that was going on, and it was really bad weather. We were having a horrible storm, and I thought, there's no way I can go down to the river today. And there was no way it was going to happen. And my husband just so happened to put a really big, huge fire down in the fireplace, and the flames were kind of like going all over the place. And so I started holding the crystals up and taking the pictures, and then the flames were even telling a story. So that was interesting. So the elements, that seems like you can work with the elements as well, instead of just kind of like having it in. But then I've also done where we've done this with people and we're just looking in the crystals without putting them into the water. And it also depends on what kind of light you're using, or whether you're using a candle. You get something different when you're using it, depending upon like how you're tipping it, what angle you're looking at it. It always seems to change and seems to be different, and it all depends on the light and whatever it is that you're working with. And I always say, whatever light you have at the time that you're doing it is the right light for you that day. So you don't have to worry about going in making sure that you have a certain kind of a candle or anything like that. That's only just something that us humans do when we try to obsess and say everything has to be done in a certain way, because there's no certain way to do this. Everybody's all quiet. Does anybody want to try it? Do you guys want to try crystal gazing? I can put up some images, or we could use, I think it would be better if I put up some images and we can see, maybe different ones can share what they see, or we can even type in the chat. How will we do this, Bonnie? I don't know how best to do this.
What I think you should do is have everybody just grab a piece of paper and write it down at home. Put the picture up, let them write down what they're seeing, and then they could just when they want to read to you what they got on their paper.
Okay.
So you could hear from each person from that one crystal what you got.
Yeah, but we won't be able to tell everybody what we got in it. It's just an exercise. It's an exercise for you to be able to start seeing what you see in the crystal. I think that's what we're gonna do. Okay.
So they can put in the chat what they got, and that way, if we want to read them, that'd be cool too.
Okay, so
we just can't go from person to person.
I'm gonna go get a folder out with ones that I don't have any circles on or anything like that. This person's session that I'm going to be doing soon. and I haven't even looked at the crystals yet. So let's see, where are they?
Robin,
Yes.
while you're looking, do you have a crystal with a record keeper?
I think that they have like kind of like little triangles, like that's like kind of like a little
Right.
doorway in there, and I was always looking at my crystals to see if I had ones that had like a record keeper in it. I think I do have one, but I can't remember which crystal it's in.
And what would you use the record keeper for?
To basically, you can hold it and work with it, and it can, as you work through it, it will. Well, let me kind of explain before I because this is something different that I do. Let me just get this crystal up just so when I do the screen share, it'll work. Record keepers, and I will find you guys again. Okay. What was I gonna say? Okay, working with this crystal, something that I've learned is that the more you work with it, the stronger it becomes and the stronger that it works with you. So when I first got this, I knew that it had all of my Akashic records in here. I knew that it had the records somehow, and I was like, how am I going to figure this out? And so I learned that if you just keep the crystal with you and hold it, and I used to take it swimming with me, I would take it in the pool and take it into the steam room. That's my favorite thing. And I would just start using the crystal to start working and meditating with it and stuff. And I found that different things were happening. Like there was one time when if you feel there's a little like thing, like a nudge thing on this one part of my crystal. And I was in the steam room with it right recently after I got it, and I was in a really bad state. My husband had a stroke, and my parents were not doing well. I had to fly I don't travel well, and I had to fly over to New York. And because of the fact that my husband had a stroke and all of this, my mind, I was like not really doing so well. And I hadn't had any exercise, and I need exercise. I need to swim. I need to do this for my mind, not my body, not as much my body as my mind. And I would go swimming just about every day. Well, during the time from the time my husband had the stroke to the time that I got back from New York, it had been over a month. And I hadn't been able to, I didn't do any of my meditation. I wasn't doing anything. And even when I was in New York, I wasn't doing my oracle reading like I normally do, because I was staying at different people's houses, and I was feeling like I had to like entertain the people that I was with. And so I wasn't taking this time for myself. I melted when I was on my way back. I was in Newark Airport. After flying from Syracuse, I had to fly to Newark and then go to to Ireland. And they didn't give me my boarding pass in Syracuse to go over to the Irish flight to Aer Lingus. And so when I got to Newark Airport, I think it was Newark, yeah, they told me that I had to go back into the general population and go back to, where you check in and get my boarding pass, and that I wasn't allowed to go through, when you have to go through security and all that kind of stuff. And I had gone through over a month, and all this stuff had been happening. I just couldn't handle it. Like when I stood at the desk, I finally got myself at the desk, the check-in desk for Aer Lingus, and there wasn't anybody there. And I asked the security lady, where is Aer Lingus? And she was like, oh, you'll have to come back in like 4 hours. And I was like, but I was already, I had to like find a place to stand. And for me, it was really hard because I'm in Newark, and all these people were coming in from the street. I knew they hadn't gone through security. I was just very like tense and very upset, and I had just gone through so much. I literally melted. I landed on the floor and I just started bawling my eyes out because Aer Lingus wasn't open. And I know normally this wouldn't happen. Normally I would have been able to do this and it wouldn't have bothered me that I didn't have this boarding pass, and I would have been fine. But because of the fact that I hadn't been able to do this, so I was a mess. I was literally a mess. And I remember going in with this crystal to the steam room, and I was like, I just don't want to be here anymore. I just don't want to do it. I can't do this. And I was trying to like meditate, but it wasn't really working very well. And so I started rubbing the crystal, and I was in the dark because the steam room is kind of dark. It's got like these purple lights inside of there. And all of a sudden, this tunnel showed up in my vision, and I went down the tunnel, and I found myself in the inner earth. And in the inner, then there was like these inner earth beings and all of my guides, and they said, you need to go into a healing chamber. And they showed me my healing chamber. It was like a pyramid, and they put me into the healing chamber, and all these like colors were infused on me at that time. I can't remember what color it was. And they told me, you can come back anytime and all this. And then when I got out of the pool, or out of the steam room, and I went down into the whirlpool, I was looking at the crystal, and I was right around where the nudgy thing was, where I had my finger on. I realized there was a pyramid inside of it. And so if you can see in here, there's like a pyramid inside my crystal. And I was like, whoa, I just went into a pyramid inside the inner earth, and my crystal took me in there. And so I think that was like the start of how the crystal was able to start showing me records, because like it was taking me into my healing chamber just by like having it with me. So I guess that's how it starts to work. It's not like magic where you just all of a sudden have the crystal and you just all of a sudden put your finger on and you feel it and you see it and you have this big, huge, amazing thing happen. And then little by little, as I work with the crystal even more, I do these procedures. They're called transference healing procedures, where I do these like things and I use the crystal. And one day I was in the steam room and I was doing the one for my wounding. And in the wounding, you have to imagine the color yellow. And then there's another time when you have to imagine the color green and in your heart. And I got out of the there after doing it. And I was sitting in the whirlpool, and I started looking at my crystal, because I do crystal gazing, and I wanted a crystal gaze. And I started looking at my crystal, and my crystal started glowing green and yellow and inside the crystal. And I thought to myself, whoa, something's going on here. I don't understand this. And I actually went to a different part of the pool, because I thought, well, maybe it's the lighting. Maybe there's something going on with the lighting, why my crystal's glowing. And so I went to different areas of the pool, and it was glowing. Every time I had it underneath the water, it was glowing. And I thought, this is very strange. And ever since then, the crystal, whenever I work with it and I do procedures and I do all this work with it, it seems to glow the color that I'm working with. Like if I'm working with blue, the blue ray or whatever, all of a sudden it'll start glowing blue. It's very strange. I don't know why it's doing that, but I think it's meant to do that. And yeah, so I remember the day that happened, when it first started glowing. If anybody goes back onto my YouTube channel, you'll see there's a thing, I think it says my crystal's glowing. It's right when I first started doing video blogs. And I literally was like, guys, my crystal's glowing. I'm so excited, So that's basically, I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Thank you. Very helpful.
Okay, so let's just I think we'll just do one or 2 images, and everybody has like a piece of paper, and they can, oh wait, that's the wrong one, this one. And you can go ahead, and we're gonna look at the crystal and see if we see anything. I just want to say what I see. I guess maybe I can. Should I say what I see, Bonnie? Or let everybody see what they see?
So let them see what they see, because it changes when someone else says what they see.
Okay. And look at the water and the crystal. And sometimes look at the water in different ways, like things that are happening outside the water and inside the crystal. How long do you think we should do one image for, Bonnie?
We'll just wait at least a couple minutes, give them a minute to adjust.
Yeah, I know. We're gonna have to end this very soon because it's my birthday and all my children my son just showed up and his girlfriend, so we're kind of here.
Okay. Well, let's just do this one picture and give them a couple more minutes, and then we'll have everybody put in the chat what they found, and we'll just say a few things of what they found, and then we'll just wrap it up after that.
I can't see the chat, just so you know, while the screen sharing is up.
Okay, I'll read them off as soon as they start saying.
Is there anything coming on in the chat?
Hey everyone, go ahead and start putting in the chat what you're seeing.
Just let people tell us. We'll have a couple people take their microphone off that really see something.
Yeah, and then they can also, while everybody's talking, put them in the chat.
Okay.
In the chat too.
So, will I start with you, Bonnie?
Well, sure. I mean, I was seeing light language. I was seeing like it looked like in the light language. It looked like light language over the top here, and then it also looks like people swimming.
Like over here, the light language, and then it turns into like little swimmers, doesn't it?
Yeah. And this looks like a spaceship right here.
Where? I can't see because you're not being able to. I don't see your arrow.
Up at the top. Okay, see where the people are swimming across, and then there's a little light ship right here. Keep going.
This way?
Yep. Now go up a little bit.
Right here.
Yes. There you go. Right there. Right there. And then I saw a dolphin within the crystal, you know, down here. Right there. The nose is right over here. And then I saw a bright light that was right in the middle of the crystal right here.
This?
Right where you're at, yep.
And then
it
looks like it's got like wings on it too.
Yep, looks like it could be an angel, yeah. So that's what I got, and I'm gonna read some of the things other people are saying.
I'm just gonna say down here, it looks like there's a person and he's kind of holding up the crystal. It's like a little kind of being. He's kind of holding up the crystal like with his hand, the whole crystal.
Yeah. And then we have Okay, let me go up to the top here and see where we can get what everybody else is saying. Okay, we see Maria saying she sees a ship, Titanic, hitting the iceberg, a feather, an angel, a bird. Pat says she sees a shark on the left, a crystal, and a cowboy in a large hat below the crystal.
That's the guy I think I saw, the cowboy guy. See, he's got it.
Yeah. And then we have Ritza sees portal light ship, Makarba, couple of people, dog or two dogs, dragon, a boat, canoe type, and a person in the clouds, number 112, and lots of little light type languages, codes, and there's a lot, she says. So who would like to talk a little bit about here?
All these things that you're seeing that are happening in here, when you see this, then you've got to kind of like decipher, what is this telling you? Is it a scene that you're being shown? Why is there a spaceship with these like people looking like they're swimming to the spaceship? What does this mean to you? Why is there a cowboy holding up the crystal? If there's an animal, there was someone that saw a shark. You would look up the spiritual meaning of a shark, and that could actually help you figure out what it is that a shark does. I'm seeing like, it looks like it's like a skull, but it's not. It looks like a skull down here.
Yeah, I see that too.
So you would just basically look this up. I remember there was one person I just did a session for. I saw a waterfall. I saw the crystal actually like a person hovering over the waterfall, and there was a little doggy there. And I looked up the meaning of the dog. Especially, it was a terrier, a white West Highland terrier, and I found it was a very specific message for that type of a dog. And then there was a waterfall coming down, and I looked up the spiritual meaning of a waterfall and what that meant, and the fact that the crystal was hovering over that gave me information as to what the whole scene was showing me.
Yeah, and also, what does it mean to you? I mean, what is it telling your heart? Sometimes you just immediately know what it's trying to tell you without looking it up too.
Okay, so I think we're coming to the end of the time. My family is waiting me. I can smell burnt food. And I just want to say thank you guys for coming in and spending my birthday with me, for doing this. This is something that I absolutely, totally, and completely love. And I love giving this information to people so that it can empower them to be able to use the crystals in a way that they never even thought that they could use them. And I hope that you all got something out of this. And I just want to send you guys off with so much love. And if you guys want to get more information, I'm going to be doing a class. I'm going to be teaching a crystal gazing online class where you can actually purchase it. It's going to have a lot more in-depth information from what I just told you. And be looking for that on the Divine Ray app, and also Starseed U, and on my website that are going to be available. And I'll be doing all kinds of classes on all kinds of topics, from things that are coming through for me, like from the healing chambers and how to connect with healing chambers and all that kind of stuff that's going to be happening. Anything that I was starting to write a book, and now I'm finding that it would be more fun to teach a class. So I'm going to have lots of little mini classes that go really in depth on different subjects. And I'll be doing subjects about inner earth people and Lemurians as I'm being guided and as I'm being shown information. And so you can find all of that on my website. It's www.calm. It's like CALM, calm art studio and .com. And in there you can see everything that I do. I'm an artist. There's all my galleries up there with all my light coded artwork. And also I do private sessions now. And so if you would like to avail of a private session with me, go into, it says intuitive readings and private sessions, and all the information is there as to how to have a session with me. And I would love to do one with you. And all of my sessions, I incorporate crystal gazing as part of the session. So thank you.
Happy birthday, Robin.
Thank
You have a
you.
blessed day. Bye.
Bye bye.
Happy birthday.
Bye.
Happy birthday.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you. Thank you all for coming. I really, really love all of you. Everybody's waving. Let's see if we can stop the recording.